Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our special event where we delve into the legendary world of ancient heroes and epic battles. Tonight, we journey back in time to the age of myths and legends, to the city of Troy. This is not just a retelling of a story, but a celebration of one of the most iconic tales ever told. Enjoy the movie, and may the tale of Troy inspire and captivate you as it has countless generations before. Thank you. Agamemnon, the ruler of Mycenae, has conquered all Greek kingdoms with the exception of Thessaly at the start of the movie.
Soldiers too. They fought bravely.
Although both sides have sent armies to engage in combat, Agamemnon suggests that only two champions engage in single combat.
You again today.
While Agamemnon summons Achilles, the king of Thessaly calls for Boagrius. Achilles is reluctant to fight for Agamemnon, but Nestor convinces him that by taking on Boagrius, he can save hundreds of warriors.
You can save hundreds.
After Achilles defeats Boagrius, Agamemnon takes control of Thessaly. Agamemnon's brother Menelaus is entertaining Princess Hector and Paris, who are Troy's envoys, in Sparta in the meantime. It is discovered that Paris and Menelaus' wife Helen have been having an affair when they sneak upstairs. Helen is afraid since Paris and Hector are leaving the following day. But Paris has a strategy to save Helen. As the two lovers flee, Paris smuggles Helen onto a ship that is sailing toward Troy. Later, once he introduces her to his brother, the latter considers sending her back but learns that Paris will only pursue her. The ship keeps sailing toward Troy.
Where is she?
Oh, my king.
After learning of his wife's flight, Menelaus has asked his brother for assistance. He persuades Agamemnon to invade Troy, and Agamemnon accepts because he saw this as a chance to take control of Aegean shipping by demolishing the most significant city on the Asia Minor coast.
It's an insult to all Greeks.
I won't rest till I've burned Troy to the ground.
The Greek kings are told to gather their forces by Agamemnon, but Nestor persuades him that they require Achilles because Troy has never fallen before.
Morning. One last thing. We need Achilles.
The Ithaca king Odysseus is dispatched to Phthia in order to persuade Achilles to ally with Agamemnon. He meets Patroclus, a student and cousin of Achilles. Achilles also encounters his mother Thetis, who foretells that even though he lives a long and good life, no one would remember him if he stays. He will die but earn eternal glory and renown if he travels to Troy. Achilles decides to go to Troy and call upon his myrmidons, which includes Patroclus, in an attempt to be remembered.
But Agamemnon's orders. Fight for me, Eudorus, or Agamemnon.
When Hector and Paris arrive in Troy, their father, King Priam, and their cousin Briseis welcome them.
Your beauty grows with each new moon.
Despite being dissatisfied with Paris' behavior, Priam nevertheless embraces Helen.
For once.
Though Paris plans to challenge Menelaus to a single combat, Helen forewarns him that Agamemnon and Menelaus will come for
If we're
her.
not here, what need is there for war?
Menelaus won't give up.
The following day, when all of the Greek armies arrive,
Take it! It's yours!
the Myrmidons seize Troy's beach and desecrate the Apollo temple.
Flag!
Achilles kills the priests of Apollo during this sacrilege and captures Briseis, an acolyte in the temple.
There's nothing.
Where is he?
You're nothing but a killer.
Agamemnon requests your presence.
After learning of Achilles' reward, Agamemnon seizes Helen for himself, infuriating Achilles, who orders his soldiers to abstain from the conflict. A ceasefire is observed while the armies of Greece and Troy gather outside Troy, where Paris challenges Menelaus to a single combat.
The sun was shining when your wife left you.
You must give Helen back to my brother.
So let us fight our own battle. The winner takes Helen home.
I
accept your challenge.
Despite never having engaged in combat, Paris is self-assured and wields the famous sword of Troy, a weapon once owned by Priam and his predecessors. Hector tells Paris to fight back so Menelaus will exhaust himself, but Menelaus manages to take away Paris' shield and sever his thigh, leaving the Trojan prince hobbling over to his sibling.
You coward! Is this what you left me for?
The fight is over.
Not over.
Agamemnon asserts that the ceasefire has been broken after Menelaus and Agamemnon are unable to convince Hector to abandon Paris for the battlefield. Hector kills Menelaus after he tries to kill Paris, who is hanging on to Hector's feet. The Trojan soldiers on the ground and the archers above the walls drive back the Greek forces when Agamemnon gives the order to strike. Hector kills Ajax the Greater during this period. Patroclus is upset that Achilles does not step in and instead watches Agamemnon flee. Hector draws the Trojan soldiers back when he realizes they are in range of the Greek archers while the Greek forces withdraw to the ships. Agamemnon is convinced to make peace with Achilles by Nestor and Odysseus.
Achilles fights only for himself.
Achilles makes fun of Briseis for her devotion to Apollo, and Briseis starts to doubt Achilles' morality and asks why he wants to be such a great warrior. She makes a nighttime effort to murder him, but she stops herself when she realizes how much she loves him. Priam has gathered his counselors at Troy, and they support attacking the Greeks while they are at a disadvantage. But Hector observes that the Myrmidons did not engage in combat, speculating that there may be division in the Greek army. He thinks that battling them now would bring them together.
That's the only directive.
The last time I prepare the army, we attack at daybreak.
At dawn, Priam orders an attack. Little fires are started by the Trojan archers using flaming arrows on the ground. The Greeks erected a hill, which they then roll big balls of over. The Greek camp was engulfed in chaos as these ignited upon coming into contact with the flame. Hector and the Trojans storm into the camp despite Odysseus and Achilles' best efforts to organize a resistance. Hector takes off Achilles' helmet during the battle, killing the warrior. It comes to light that Patroclus disguised himself as Achilles in order to motivate the Greeks and command the Myrmidons. Hector ends Patroclus' suffering and seals the truce with Odysseus.
What's his cousin?
When Achilles learns of his cousin's passing, his rage nearly leads him to choke Briseis. Hector gets ready for war the following day despite Andromach's pleas. Hector had shown Andromache a secret tunnel leading out of Troy the previous evening, warning her that if he fell, she would have to save as many Trojans as she could and guide them through the tunnel. Hector knows that in order to get revenge on Patroclus, Achilles will go directly after him. While all is going on, Achilles is getting ready to battle Hector, despite Briseis' pleas for him to spare her cousin because he is a nice man. When Achilles shows up outside Troy by himself, he demands that Hector turn to face him.
Hector!
Hector bids adieu to Paris, Priam, Andromache, and Helen as he gets ready to face his destiny. Hector and Achilles battle. But eventually Hector's weariness wins out. Helen comforts Andromache as Achilles murders him and brings his body around Troy and back to the Greek camp. When Briseis sees Achilles returning to his tent, she starts crying for her cousin. That evening, Priam enters the Greek camp in disguise, demands to see his son's body, and kisses Achilles' hands. The old king's entreaties bring Achilles to tears. and he agrees to a 12-day ceasefire in time for Hector's funeral,
Have that honor.
saying that Priam is a much better ruler than Agamemnon. He even permits Briseis to return home with her uncle. Agamemnon is enraged by Achilles and Priam's truce and declares he would sooner see all Greeks perish than give up on his goal. Odysseus creates the Trojan horse, a covert means of entering Troy. With Achilles the only survivor, the Myrmidons are instructed to sail back home during this period. Paris begs his father to set the horse on fire,
Father, burn it.
but the Trojans allow it inside the city. Following the Trojan festivities, the Greeks on the horse emerge and give the order for the Greek troops to swarm Troy. The Greeks start setting Troy on fire while robbing monuments and taking gold. Just before Agamemnon murders them, Priam says, looking on in terror, that the Greeks have no honor.
Have you no honor?
While Helen and the other refugees are being led by Andromache down the tunnel,
Go.
Please don't leave me.
Achilles rushes across the city to locate Briseis. Paris bids Helen farewell, vowing to see her either in this life or the next. After giving Aeneas the sword of Troy, he leaves to locate Briseis. Agamemnon traps Briseis and wants to enslave her. Briseis kills him with a hidden blade while Achilles finds her and frees her from the Greek guards. When Paris sees them both, he shoots Achilles several times, most notably in the heel, despite Briseis' objections. Achilles gives Briseis a kiss as he passes away, and the two go into the escape tube with Paris. As Odysseus lights Achilles' funeral pyre, he ends the film with the following line: "If they ever tell my story, let them say I walked with giants. Men rise and fall like the winter wheat, but these names will never die. Let them say I lived in the time of Hector, tamer of horses. Let them say I lived in the time of Achilles." Thanks for watching.
Time of Hector, breaker of horses.